Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Settle, Councillor Baker, Councillor Somper, Councillor Major, Councillor Gorringe, Councillor Lacey-Clark, Councillor Jesperson, Councillor Apothecary, Councillor Holland, Councillor Andrews, Councillor Took, Councillor Bridget Bolwell, Councillor Parks and Councillor Shortell.
Thank you. I hope the members who are not feeling ill are soon getting better. Now, item 2, the minutes. The minutes of the last meeting, we forgot to include Councillor Tomes, who was here because I welcomed him to the meeting. So if I add him to the minutes, are you happy then that I sign them? Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No, right, thank you. Item 4, my announcements. First of all, we're going to have a short presentation from Tom Clifton, who is the Dorset member of the Youth Parliament. So welcome, Tom.
Is that working? Yeah, we're on. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Clifton. I'm the member of Youth Parliament for Dorset. I'm a part of the body which is the British Youth Council, which is part of the National Youth Parliament, which is young people aged 11 to 18 who represent their area all across the country and including Northern Ireland and the Crown Territories. I'll just tell you a little bit about my journey, how I got here, and where I'm hoping to go and what I've done so far. So my journey started in this very chamber in the March of 2023, where I was elected along with my colleague Tamsin Case, who is the other NYP for Dorset. From there, my journey started out working with all the schools and colleges and NHS partners across Dorset to try and tackle the issue of sexual violence in schools. This was an issue that hit very close to me, and I thought was very important to include in my campaign and make it the focus. I've also engaged on the national side of things, such as going to the House of Commons to debate in Parliament on national topics, and also attending the NYA's national conference. Over the next few months, I'm hoping to round off my campaign as we move on to the next elections that are up and coming and are hopefully going to be delivered in March. For over the next few months, I'm going to work with my partners that I've been working with so far to try and round off things, in the sense that my initial campaign aim was to try and make a platform where young people can come together along with the services offered by the NHS, Dorset Police, Dorset Council and their schools and colleges to seek help, as to go through all the services one by one is an absolute barrage and things rarely ever get done, and that is totally unacceptable and is what I'm working to try and fix. I'll briefly hand you over to Jane, who's going to say a little bit about what's happening over the next coming months, and I think that is everything from me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So I'm Jane, Youth Voice Officer, been working with Tom, and I'm leading currently on the NYP Member of Youth Parliament elections. The elections actually take place in February to March. So at the moment we've been going out to schools and engaging with schools and settings, and I'm really pleased to say that the uptake from those schools and settings have been really positive. Just yesterday I was able to email 40 young people that have come forward and said, I'm interested in being a member of Youth Parliament, send me more information. Tom supported a workshop that we delivered last week, which I'd also like to extend my thanks to Councillor Fry and Stella for helping us with that, which was very well received by, I think we had 11, didn't we? 11 of our young people who want to sort of like go further into being an NYP. And we're just waiting now for those people to consent to saying, actually, yes, this is what I want to do. So the 18th of December is the cut-off point. And then we will be moving into other processes. We've got a hustings that we're going to be hosting here. And we would welcome any support that you were able to offer. If you wanted to get involved, it'd be really great to get the councillors involved with that. So please do come through to the Youth Voice email. If you've got any questions that you'd like to put to Tom at any point, you'd be more than welcome, more than happy to answer those as well, wouldn't you? But I'd just like to say on behalf of Youth Voice that Tom's been a brilliant advocate for our young people and continues to do some great work. So thank you very much.
To say thank you very much, and it's very good to know that so many young people are prepared to put themselves up for an election, because we know what it's like standing for elections. It's wonderful, and Tom has been a wonderful member of the Youth Parliament, so thank you again, Tom. Now, can I thank all the members who came to attend the Remembrance Service at County Hall, and the members who took the wreaths on behalf of Dorset Council to their own local services. Thank you very much. And that leads me on to congratulations to Councillor Vitale. He's just graduated from Sandhurst and won the Student Award for the Best Reservist. Well done. Item 5, public participation. We have got one question from Governor Lewis.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm here to talk about the incinerator and monitoring. So as all legal planning challenges to the incinerator are now exhausted, you probably know, Stop Portland Waste Incinerator will close its campaign at the end of the year, around the end of the year, after 6 long years where we raised almost £250,000, £240,000, to pay for consultants, expert reports, lawyers and barristers. We even had £5 a week from one elderly lady who used to pop in the cash. Although we lost legal routes, we believe our actions have without doubt been successful in delaying the project. From a time when, through actually lack of information, people could be convinced that incineration might be a good idea, to now, when we realise it's not, and public opinion and politicians are turning against the proliferation of incineration. Drastic waste reduction and improved recycling are the order of the day, and we commend Dorset Council's excellent recycling rates. Just over a year ago, a second campaign group was formed, SPIC, Stop Portland Incinerator Campaign. We like to call it the People's Campaign. And last week, we organised a public meeting attended by over 100 people to think about what we can do. Several Dorset councillors attended. Thank you. Monitoring emissions came high on the list. You may not know that incineration companies actually self-monitor their emissions, and they provide the data which is used by the Environment Agency. You may also not know that there is a flaw in those monitoring requirements. When incinerators power down and power back up for maintenance, at time of high filthy emissions, there is no monitoring by anyone. Pretty shocking and appalling. So no wonder it's not monitored at that time. Commissioning of incinerators is also a high-risk emission time. So Dorset really needs to take care of ourselves and monitor our own emissions so that we know what's going on. We say this because we know that even with the best available technology, things go wrong. And currently, around 60 hours per year leeway is given to companies who only have to report breaches over this limit. Whilst business may rationalise this, it's a whole different ballgame if you live and breathe next to one. So tonight, SPIC asks Nick Ireland, as leader of the council, to please support our call for Dorset's own emission monitoring, should this ever be built. Please help ensure that the right equipment is purchased and placed correctly in order to provide the credible and usable data the Environment Agency will use. We ask that you involve and include us and our manpower and willingness to help should you need bodies. We would also believe that we can actually fundraise perhaps to help with the cost of that. If you can't respond tonight, we've given you an email address for your response. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Councillor Ireland.
Thank you, Giovanna. And I hope the response is adequate enough that you don't actually super glue yourself to the seat. There's going to be an official written answer which you receive imminently, but this is my less formal response. So Dorset Council has consistently opposed the proposed energy recovery facility, also known as an incinerator, at Portland Port, both through the planning process and politically. The plant would emit around 200,000 tonnes of CO2 annually, equivalent to the emissions of 100,000 cars, and more than the entire domestic heating emissions of Weymouth and Portland. At roughly 30% of Dorset's total emissions, it would severely undermine our carbon reduction targets. In a world where the 1.5 degree C target is already out of reach, and that urgent action is needed to stay below 2 degrees C, adding another major source of emissions is incompatible with our climate commitments. Dorset Council has a statutory duty under the local air quality management regime to monitor air quality not just from traffic but also from industrial sources. We will look to install monitoring equipment near the proposed site and along the A354 route, which could see around between 7,500 and 11,000 return lorry journeys annually, passing schools and doctors' surgeries. I will also be writing to Giles Frampton of Power Fuel to ask him for a financial contribution for the monitor equipment and to demonstrate his commitment to the health of the Portland residents. Financially, the project faces serious risks. Estimated construction costs are between 150 and 180 million. There are falling returns due to market overcapacity. There is no confirmed waste contract. There's no CHP integration, that's heat networks. There's no carbon capture capability built in, and there's looming carbon costs under the UK emissions trading scheme. A private members bill, which is called the Waste Incinerators Bill under the 10-minute rule, seeks to halt new incinerator construction and remove the deliver or pay clauses. I've written yesterday to our 5 Dorset MPs and urging them to support that bill. Dorset's waste strategy focuses on reuse, reduce and recycle, alongside clean energy opportunities where we can lead nationally. Energy from waste is increasingly seen as a delay technology, not a future solution. I was present at last week's National Emergency Briefing on Climate and Nature, a week ago today, where the assembled experts warned we need leadership as if the survival of our species depends on it, because it does. One of our Dorset Council's priorities is to tackle the climate and nature crisis, and I hope this position reflects that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Item 6, public participation. There are no petitions or deputations. Item 7, announcements from the Leader of the Council.
It's me again. Only 2 very short, brief items. So firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Beryl Azard for chairing People and Health Overview for the last 18 months. And secondly, just to announce that we applied for membership of UK 100 and our application has been accepted, I'm pleased to announce. So for those of you who don't know, UK 100 is a cross-party organisation of what they describe as ambitious local authorities who are basically working towards reducing our climate output and collaborating together to meet that aim. So we are now a member, and our officers and our councillors can benefit from the collateral and the support they provide. So that's it.
Are there any questions on what the Leader has spoken about? No, thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 8 then, devolution. Councillor Ireland again.
Okay, so devolution. I'm not going to go through the paper. Obviously, I assume... Say again, sorry? Oh, sorry. I'm not going to go through the paper. I take it as read. We've had webinars. There's lots of FAQs out there. There's been a couple of developments, I guess, since the paper was written. So there was a meeting of the Wessex leaders and chief execs yesterday, and we had a guest speaker from Swindon. Swindon have often been mooted as being part of the Wessex Partnership, although they've consistently refused to actually take part, essentially. They announced yesterday that they are submitting an expression of interest with colleagues in Thames Valley. So this is places like Reading, Slough, Berkshire, Buckinghamshire and Oxfordshire. So Swindon is essentially completely off the table now for Wessex. One of the things that we miss out on through the devolution is money. That realistically, the only reason we're in it is A, because the government are telling us we need to have a mayoral strategic authority, and B, there's lots of money. We've estimated that we lose around about 300 million a year, around about £150 a year per resident, because we're not in a mayoral strategic authority. And the recent budget announcements just reinforced that. So money is going to strategic authorities for business rate retention, for tourism levy, regardless of where you sit on that particular fence. We are losing out by not being a mayoral strategic authority. And today there was an announcement of a delay to the priority programme. So if you recall, we applied to be part of the priority programme and we were rejected. 6 areas were taken forward, 2 of which have already delayed their elections from 26 to 27, and they are basically Cumbria and Cheshire, who are basically unitary authorities already, don't need to do local government reorganisation. Today, the government announced that the other 4, which are Essex, Suffolk, Norfolk and Suffolk, Brighton and Sussex, and I don't know what the other one is, Hampshire and Solent, they are now not having elections next year. Their elections are being delayed till 2028, and LGR will happen before then. So elections in 27 for LGR, we suspect. However, they're also being given money. So the announcement today delayed the elections, but they're still going to get money, even though they're not a mayoral strategic authority, which I find completely unfair. So this afternoon, literally hot off the press, I was in a meeting all day today with Councillor Bill Revens from Somerset, Councillor Millie Earle from BCP. Ian Thorne couldn't be there from Wiltshire, unfortunately, but we communicated and we've sent a letter to government already, basically saying that, pointing out that we're losing out, the residents of Wessex deserve better, we want the money, we're ready to go, can we have elections in 27, please? So we'll see if we get a response. So that's my update. Please vote for this. It allows us to talk with our neighbours. We're talking with them a lot already. We're looking at doing strategic stuff. There's a possibility we may end up with a foundation status, also from the announcement today. But we are talking weekly. Our officers are collaborating. We're working on planning. We're working on economic development. We're working on tourism. We're doing all the stuff that devolution and the Mayoral Strategic Authority will probably do anyway, but we're doing it now. I'll leave it there.
Councillor Clifford, do you want to second?
Councillor Clifford's going to second.
I'll sum up at the end if that's all right, Chair.
Anyone like to talk? Councillor O'Leary.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The leader said that Dorset and Wessex has been missing out on funding as not being part of this type of thing. It's my understanding that by joining a combined authority, something that I did oppose under the previous Conservative administration as well, so I've been pretty consistent in this, it won't solve the actual issue of long-term funding for local government in terms of SEND, children's services, adult services. It will be more money we miss out from strategic initiatives, is my understanding. So therefore, I still don't understand how it can really be called devolution, because it is not such a thing. Devolution would be the actual handing down of actual powers and actual resources and funding from central to local government, not the creation of another tier of government in the form of a mayor who will have tax-raising authorities, which will once again allow one form of government, in this case a combined authority, to raise money on top of the 5% cap that we raise in terms of council tax. Also, while it's been talked about strategic, the abilities of a combined authority, it's my understanding that a lot of this is now going to be taken up by the combined role of a mayor and a police crime commissioner, because that position will also be combined. So therefore, it's being sold that this is going to be some big singing, dancing improvement. In my mind, it's just going to be another layer of local government on top of ours. Since 1972, every government, including Conservative, Labour, and Liberals have been there a few times in coalition, have stripped away genuine local power and sovereignty from local government. isn't it about time that local government actually stood up to central government and said, actually, we want to be treated fairly in the discussion about what we think would be the best model to actually operate local services?
Any more comments? Councillor Beer.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I speak on behalf of the benefits when it comes to things that I'm very involved with, like transport? And I know that our transport operators and Network Rail have given up any hope, really, of getting investment in our very broken transport systems locally. By joining together, we stand a much greater chance of getting money from the DfT to put things right. We don't need a lot of money to do a very big job. We stand not a chance on our own, and being together, working with others, is the way forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Any more comments? Councillor Legg.
Thank you, Chairman. Robin Legg from Sherborne Rural. Nick, when you get a reply, if you get a reply from central government to the letter that you and the other leaders have written, how are you going to communicate that to us? I mean, I'm very sceptical that the government's going to move quickly on any of this now. And I would like to know as soon as possible which way the government are going, because we can spend a lot of time. I think there are advantages, clear advantages, in us working collaboratively with other local authorities to try and cure some of the strategic issues which all face rural local authorities in this part of the country. But I think, generally speaking, I'm not a great fan of directly elected mayors, and if they're going to have responsibilities passed down to them, which are those currently of police and crime commissioners, I fear we're going to have another very expensive and yet body which doesn't actually gel with the public.
Any more comments? Councillor Flower.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to add a bit to the debate, because as members of the Chamber that were here before the elections will recall, it was an initiative of mine, which I started back a couple of 3 years ago in trying to look at devolution as a principle. And I was never an advocate of elected mayors, because I feel that it's too much power vested in one person. We've got a chamber of people here. We can have a debate cross-party and reach decisions. And I don't think we need another layer of bureaucracy, of democracy in the process. And I argued strongly, and I was being listened to by the then government, about having a combined authority without a mayor, where you'd have the combined authority with your leaders of the councils, and they would elect themselves one person to be the central, the point of contact, single point of contact, which is one of the principal reasons why the election of a mayor was coming forward. So I think there's many benefits in devolution, and I think I would share many of the points that the leaders made. What I won't support in the long run is an elected mayor. And it's interesting that there's a problem. I mean, if you get a letter, good luck on that one. I don't see us seeing in this term, any opportunity for us to move this project, for this particular agenda forward. So we'll have to wait and see. But I certainly support the principle of devolution, but I'm on the fence. Well, I'm not on the fence. I don't like the idea of elected mayors. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any more comments? Councillor Ireland, would you like to respond? Or Councillor Clifford?
Councillor Simon Clifford, Cabinet Member for Finance and Capital Strategy. I was interviewed on the radio this morning, and I used the phrase, sometimes as a politician you have to slightly hold your nose and make a decision. I think this is one of the ones. I think many people in this room are a little bit iffy about the idea of a mayor, but it is very clear the direction of travel from government. It's been spelled out absolutely in the autumn statement. No mayor and no devolved organisation means no massive investment in capital into infrastructure, no big transport plans, no big government access to government funds for job creation and boosting our economy. For me, no-brainer. I think Dorset is in a good position through the leader and through previous leaders. We have negotiated well with partners, and we've got a strong partnership. Dorset has been unfairly funded, and if we are able to get access to major investment programmes that will benefit residents in Dorset, I think it's a choice where we have to hold our nose and take it. So for me, this is a no-brainer, and I fully support it.
Now we move on to voting on the recommendation.
The vote is now open. Thank you, councillors, and the result of the vote are 49 in favour, 6 against and 11 abstentions. The motion is therefore carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 9, the piercing bylaws. Councillor Taylor is going to introduce the report.
Thank you. Councillor Jill Taylor, Cabinet Member for Housing and Health. These new bylaws are necessary to provide consistency of regulation across the council area for the protection of public health. Since local government reorganisation in Dorset, environmental health officers have operated under the former district and borough bylaws that were in place. It was anticipated that the government would introduce new legislation into this sector, which would replace existing provisions. However, new legislation is now unlikely to provide new national standards, necessitating local attention on this matter. The draft bylaws before you this evening were subject to a period of public consultation and have been considered by the General Licensing Committee before they've come to full council for ratification. They are recommended to full council for approval. There are quite a few points to the recommendation, so I'm certainly not going to read it all out, but it's before you in section 2.1 of the paper this evening. Happy to take questions.
It's going to be seconded by Councillor Beer.
Derek Beer, Chairman of the Licensing Committee. I have no no qualms in seconding this whatsoever. I'm actually going to make history this evening, and please excuse me, because I think for the first time ever in this chamber we can use words like bum lift and Botox because it's all in the report. So I'm quite pleased about that. History is made. But this is the first of many reports of this type which will come to council, which are bringing together the different bylaws, the different conditions that are in the former districts. So this is the second or third one of many. I have no hesitation in supporting it because it's really very important and worthwhile. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any comments? No? Well, we'll go straight on to the recommendation then.
The vote is now open. Belinda, would you mind pressing your button again? Thank you. Councillor Steve Robinson, would you mind pressing your button again? Thank you. 5. And Duncan, would you mind? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And the results of the vote are 66 in favour. That's carried. Thank you very much.
That's a good recommendation to be carried. Now we'll go on to item 10, the terms of reference for Dorchester markets. Councillor Taylor again.
Thank you. I'm still Councillor Jill Taylor and I'm still the Cabinet Member for Housing and Health. Just making that clear. The Charter Market at Fairfield in Dorchester has been operated by T. Enser & Son Limited for the past 25 years under a lease overseen by the Dorset Market's informal joint panel. When the lease finishes in April next year, Dorchester Town Council will take on the management of the markets under an agreement with Dorset Council. The informal joint panel, which consists of members of both councils, will oversee the operation of this new arrangement. However, to do this, the terms of reference for the panel are required to be updated. This matter has been considered by Audit and Governance Committee and is recommended to full council for approval.
Seconded by Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Les Fry, Dorchester West. I'm very pleased to be able to second this recommendation. I've known Dorchester Market for many years. As a child, I bought my pet rabbits from the cages in the Linneys. Later, as a farmer, I bought and sold cattle, sheep and ponies there. I fondly remember the annual Dorset Home and Pole Dorset Sheep Fair, where I bought and sold my pedigree lambs. In later years, the market attracted many traders, with bus and coaches bringing both tourists and shoppers to the market, which has been run by Enders for many years. This new chapter in the market's history, with a dedicated market operator overseen by an informal joint panel, will help to revitalise the market, which over the past few years has gone into decline. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I have had Councillor Laura Beddoe, West Purbeck, and honoured to have been a member of the Dorset and Dorchester Joint Market Panel for some years. I just wanted to really reflect. I think it's really cool to have a market that is a royal charter. I just love the history of it, and the History Centre has got, documentation, and I think even the actual charter there. I think I've seen it, and I just think it's great that we're talking this evening in 2025 about something that was created in 1630, and we're still here doing our job like they were doing their job, and I just think it's great. So that's just a bit of geekery there, maybe. But I wanted to thank Graham Duggan, Steve Newman, Hannah from Legal, because they've put a huge amount of work into developing this. We've been talking about it for a long time, and also commend Dorchester Town Council for their energy and enthusiasm with kind of embracing keeping it alive and doing it justice. So I just wanted to make those comments and say thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? We'll go to the vote on this then.
The vote is now open. Councillor Gibson, would you mind voting again? Thank you. And sorry, and James Batali too. Could you press again? Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, everyone. And that is 66 in favour. That's carried. Thank you.
This is excellent news, because back in 1973, when West Dorset District Council was formed, we have been talking about Dorchester running this market all those years. And thank you all for voting for it. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Councillor O'Leary will be pleased that we're going back to a more democratic way. Right, we now go to item 11, the election of Chair and Vice Chair of the overview. We've got a nomination of Councillor Louise Bowen. Are there any other nominations? Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Ireland. So there are no other nominations, so we don't need to vote on that. So she is now nominated as Chair of the overview. Thank you. Now we go to Vice Chair. Councillor Ireland has nominated Councillor Atwell. Are there any other nominations for Vice Chair? It's going to be seconded by Councillor Bowen. So no need for a vote on that. So Councillor Atwell, congratulations. Councillors. The first question is from Councillor Kimber.
Oh, thank you. I'll just wait for Councillor Ireland.
Councillor Kimber.
Thank you, Chair. And before I go into the question, I want to actually pay tribute to the people right across Dorset that joined with the plight of with Portland and the incinerator. I think Dorset people have shown tremendous resilience and courage. Now to the question. At a public meeting on the 20th of November 2025 at the Social Club on Portland, many Portlanders and people right across Dorset expressed their deep concern and worry regarding the variation that Powerfuel have submitted to the application. This green site is very sensitive, with people living and working at the Verne prison and the Verne housing estate. Also, the variation is very concerning for the health of our Dorset community. The public meeting requested air quality monitors to give the public accurate measurements of the air quality in and around the plant before and after it is built. Dorset Council will hopefully undertake this process. Has Powerfuel provided any new information to Dorset Council regarding the variation, and how will it control the discharge from the chimneys, and how will this be monitored? And the Dorset Council has the Dorset Council made any objection regarding the environmental consultation that will be submitted as an objection?
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Kimber, for your question. It's really an interesting one, and it follows on from the public question earlier on, doesn't it? So, with respect to the siting of air quality monitors, I think I would refer you to the answer that Councillor Ireland gave earlier, because he's put out the most detailed information within that. I appreciate the concern being experienced by communities about the application made by Powerfuel to vary the environmental permit. The application will be determined by the Environment Agency as the statutory regulator. The application is currently being consulted upon, and the Council will make its response to the Environment Agency by the closing date of the 18th of December. I would also, on that point, encourage any of the members of the public who are out there to make their responses as well. The application contains information in support of the variation, but if this is considered to be insufficient, this will form part of the Council's response. So I think it's incumbent on us to encourage people to respond to the consultation in the same way that we should be encouraging responses to any other consultation, because our residents' voices are important to us. Going further forward with this, I'll be working very closely with Councillor Ireland on this issue, and I'm sure we will be bringing more things back, probably informally through information stuff to members. Thank you.
Thank you. Who does supplementary?
Yes, please, Chair. I'm a little bit concerned, our council, knowing the deep, deep feelings right across Dorset, that we're not making an objection at this very late stage. I would just place that as the record, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question is from Councillor Holland, but she's unfortunately not here, so Councillor Neil Anside is going to do it.
Thank you, Chair. As you say, I'm Councillor Neil Isink, Egerton Ward, and I'm raising this question on behalf of my neighbouring ward councillor, Councillor Holland, who unfortunately can't be here this evening. Chair, I'm raising this on behalf of residents and parish councils along the Portland, Weymouth, Bridport corridor, from White Regis through Portisham, Abbotsbury, Burton Bradstock, Little and Long Breddy, right out to Winterbourne Abbas. These communities are dealing daily with the consequence of heavy goods vehicles forcing their way through roads that were never designed for them. Damage to property, safety risks, noise, vibration, and the strain on older infrastructure. It's all taking a toll on both the physical environment and residents' well-being. With the proposed incinerator at Portland Port, alongside wider development and investment under the Weymouth Town Master Plan, People are rightly demanding to know what Dorset Council is going to do to protect these historic rural villages and the wider Weymouth, Chickerell and Chesilbank area. The impact is already being felt now, long before any future developments arrive. The question is, villages such as Portisham and Abbotsbury are already suffering regular damage, congestion and danger to pedestrians from HGVs using routes that are wholly unsuitable for vehicles of that size. This is not an isolated problem. It affects the entire corridor: White Regis, Portisham, Abbotsbury, Little Breddy, Burton Bradstock, and Winterbourne Abbas all feel the pressure of freight movements linked to Portland Port. Despite repeated reports and concerns raised by residents, ward councillors and parish councils, the current advisory routes remain unchanged and unenforced. Communities feel that they are being left to absorb the consequences of poor route planning and lack of enforcement. With the proposed incinerator at Portland Port set to increase HGV movements significantly on top of other developments and the ambitions set out in the Weymouth Town Master Plan, will Dorset Council now take responsibility for safeguarding these communities? Specifically, will Dorset Council guarantee that any future traffic management plan connected to Portland Port or future Weymouth development actively diverts HGVs away from narrow, historic village streets, such as those in Portisham and Abbotsbury, and deliver a clear, enforceable HGV routing strategy for the entire corridor? And critically, while long-term plans are discussed, what immediate actions will Dorset Council take to protect these villages from further deterioration right now?
As Councillor Andrews is not here, Councillor Bartlett will respond.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And with your indulgence, I remain seated so members can hear me speak, hopefully. Councillor Shane Bartlett, Cabinet Member for Planning and Emergency Planning and Ward Member for Wimble Minster. And I'm reading this on behalf of my colleague, Councillor John Andrews, who sadly can't be with us tonight due to illness. So thank you for raising the issue. We understand how disruptive and worrying HGV traffic can be for residents and parish councils along this corridor. Dorset Council is working with BCP Council on a new local transport plan, which will set out long-term strategies for managing transport across the county. We are also preparing a new local plan to guide future development. Both plans will be informed by detailed transport modelling so we can understand and address the impact of growth on our roads. For major developments such as the proposed incinerator, developers must provide a transport assessment. This helps us identify and require measures to reduce traffic impacts, including HGV routing. However, these conditions can only apply to traffic linked to that specific development. We cannot legally restrict the wider use of public highways. In the meantime, we have taken steps to discourage HGVs from using unsuitable routes. Drivers are signposted to avoid the coast road and follow the advisory route to Portland Port, not suitable for HGVs. Signs have been installed at key junctions and sat-nav systems have been updated with a 7.5-tonne weight limit between Winterbourne Abbas and Portisham. We also have raised these concerns directly with the CEO of Portland Port. We know these measures do not solve every problem, and we will continue to look for practical ways to protect those villages, both now and in the future. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. I hope Councillor Holland will be satisfied with that response. So we'll move on to question 3, submitted by Councillor Flower.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. My question is around the Dorset Local Plan, Regs 18, Land Allocations, Public Consultation. You'll recall I asked the question at full council on Thursday the 23rd of October. Waiting until August 26th to reveal such information would be unfair and hugely concerning for those in our communities who are anxious about the significant loss of greenbelt and undeveloped land caused by new housing being pepper-potted across the Dorset area. What action will be taken to make members and the public aware of which sites will not be taken forward? And will a list of these sites be created supporting evidence submitted along with a draft local plan to the Secretary of State? Your response was that a list of sites that are no longer available will be created and placed on the Council's website, and there would be an assessment to whether identified sites are deliverable before inclusion in the iterative draft of the local plan. Can I take the opportunity to thank the Cabinet Member for Planning and officers for fulfilling this commitment in such a timely manner. There's a however coming. On behalf of residents, however, I must reiterate my concern about when many other potential undeliverable sites are likely to be removed during the sifting process and added to the list. This is hugely important to our residents, given the level of public concern confirmed by over 10,000 responses to the consultation regarding a number of sensitive sites with expectations that they'll be removed from the draft plan, particularly if they don't comply with the NPPF and/or other statutory planning guidance. My concern remains that it would be grossly unfair to expect the public to have to wait for the next draft local plan being brought for Cabinet in June next year and further public consultation in August 26. So my question, therefore, is to seek an assurance that the public will be made aware of the sites will be screened out and removed from the draft local plan at the earliest opportunity, and further that the Council has sought to investigate best practice from other councils in this regard. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Bartlett.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Shane Bartlett, Cabinet Member for Planning and Emergency Planning and Ward Member for Wimble Minster. Can I thank Councillor Flower for his question and for highlighting the concerns of residents. We know how important it is for communities to have clarity about which sites will not be taken forward in the local plan, and we understand the anxiety and uncertainty it causes. The recent consultation was not on a draft local plan, but on a list of potential sites for consideration. None of these sites will be included in the plan until the next stage, when full council decides on the content of the draft plan for publication. We received around 9,000 responses, and officers are working hard to review them using technology to speed up the process. Where it is clear that a site cannot progress, for example, if a landowner confirms it is no longer available, we will publish that information online as soon as possible. We've already done this in some cases. However, most sites need to be assessed against a range of factors, including national planning rules, housing targets, evidence, and consultation feedback. This is a complex process and must follow the legal requirements for plan making. Only after this assessment can officers recommend which sites should be included in the draft plan. We will continue to share updates as soon as we can, and we are committed to making this process as transparent as possible. Our approach is in line with best practice by other local planning authorities. Madam Chairman, can I extend an invite to Councillor Flower to meet with me and officers should he wish to do so to discuss it further outside of this meeting? Thank you.
Councillor Flower, supplementary.
I do, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much. I'll take up that offer from Councillor Bartlett. But I would just add that my remarks in the question about the draft local plan, I'm not a fool. I know it's not finished, but it's an iterative process, and I'll be amazed if there isn't a skeleton draft local plan sitting somewhere in an office being populated as we do the sifting. Otherwise, where would you put the sites? So, I don't take lightly to the remark about implying that I don't know what I'm talking about, because I do. And in fact, my commentary prior to that was very much about Regs 18 consultation. However, I will take up the offer that Councillor Bartlett's kindly offered, and I'll look forward to having that conversation outside this chamber.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, but... Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be a pleasure, Madam.
Thank you for that question. Now we move on to question 4, submitted by Councillor Carol Jones.
Thank you very much, Chair. Carol Jones, Sturminster Newton. I must just, before I just quickly start on that, I always thought it was customary that we stood up at full council out of respect. I don't know whether that's to you or to our residents.
No, we decided at the last council, if you want to stand up, it's fine, but some people, because of the loudspeakers, it's easy to sit down.
So, following a day of filming with Channel 4, with families being represented by the SENS Nurture Group, and on visiting and talking to parents on their day of protest outside County Hall, one standout area appears to be poor communication with parents. Parents feel that every step is a battle. They chase constantly and often do not receive updates. And some have even found that actions taken by staff about their child have not been communicated to them at all. Working closely with so many such parents at our family hub, the stress is huge on these parents. It affects their not being able to work set hours often. They are often also on medication for anxiety themselves. And my question is simple: what more can we do as a council to provide a better and more proactive service for our parents? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sutton.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Councillor Claire Sutton, Cabinet Member, Children's Services, Education and Skills. And thank you very much, Councillor Jones, for the question. Extremely apposite, and I did watch the item on Channel 4 News. First, I think it's important to emphasise that we operate within a national SEND system that is widely recognised to be failing, and we are lobbying for urgent reform and increased funding. The school's white paper, which must deliver change, has now been delayed until spring. Within this challenging context, we have invested capital funds to create over 250 new special school places and over 100 mainstream inclusion hub places, with more to come in the next 12 months. We are supporting inclusivity in mainstream schools by funding outreach from special schools through our SEND strategy work and by providing resources to create more suitable learning environments. This reflects the national and local direction of travel going forwards towards more inclusive education, so children can remain in their communities wherever possible. So that's the wider context in which we are operating, and we absolutely recognise that good communication with parents is essential, and we do continuously strive to improve this. So some examples: we've recently introduced a new case management system, and we'll be introducing a parent portal where parents and carers can track the progress of their child's assessments. We have brought in more staff into the SEND team and are remodelling the workflow, which is already creating additional capacity for staff to pick up the phone to families. And we are focusing on workforce development and SENCO engagement to improve annual reviews, and we're exploring the use of AI to improve efficiency, which again will free up more staff time to liaise directly with families. Thanks.
Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Chair. I know this council is in a difficult situation, as is every council throughout the country, but just a quick phone call to a parent doesn't need a cost involved in it. It just needs somebody to show that they care. When will this portal be ready, open, and when can we get information on that, please?
Councillor Sutton.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jones. Work is in progress. We're hoping by the middle of next year. I know that sounds rather a long time, but apparently it's quite a complicated process. I can provide further information outside of the meeting. As to picking up the phone, you know, I'm a parent too. You know, I know how it feels, and we're doing our best.
Thank you. Now, question 5, submitted by Councillor Quayle.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Byron Quayle, Blandford. And I hadn't actually seen the question from Councillor Jones, but clearly there must be something, because I've been receiving quite a lot of complaints that come to me, and then I try and pass them on to Children's Services or to yourself. So I'll just get straight into it. What assessment has the Cabinet Member for Children's Services made of the emotional and educational impact on children and families when delays, particularly miscommunication and misapplication of guidance occur, and how is this factored into service improvement plans? And clearly you've answered some of that.
Councillor Sutton.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Quayle. I'm not surprised to have 3 questions on this subject, because obviously, you know, this is a very, very hot topic, both nationally and locally at the moment. So the question's very welcome. Yeah, we absolutely understand the impact on children and families, and indeed the impact of children's and parental mental health and well-being on children is one of the 3 priorities of the Dorset Safeguarding Children Partnership Board. It is one of the top 3 priorities. This was also highlighted by Rachel Wardle, President of the Association of Directors of Children's Services and DCS in Surrey, in her speech last week at last week's National Children and Adults Services Conference. she said, I'm abbreviating this as there's fuller in the written answer, she said, every delay is a further knock to parental confidence. It's now over a year since government appointed a SEND strategic advisor. The curriculum and assessment review offers a route forward, but meeting the needs of children with additional needs must be a golden thread running seamlessly through our education system. So Dorset Council offers the following related support. We held a mental health and wellbeing themed Let's Talk online session with parents in July. Our education psychologists deliver a programme of emotionally based school avoidance training for school staff, and additional in-school support is provided by our EPs and specialist teachers. We incorporate the impact of parental mental health on children's wellbeing in training such as therapeutic thinking, attachment and trauma, and relational practice. And finally, we work closely with health colleagues around mental health transformation, and there'll be some good news in that arena coming shortly. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Councillor Sutton.
Question there. Yeah.
Well, there was a good corporate response, but it doesn't actually answer the question that I asked. So effectively, I'm asking back about the assessment you have made on the emotional and educational impact. You've given me, there's this whole lot of stuff we're doing, but what's the assessment you've made? That's kind of the point I'm trying to get to.
I mean, obviously, you held this role prior to me, Byron, and I don't know how you occupied the role, but I rely on the professionals to undertake the duties that are, of a professional, operational nature. That I don't consider that to be my personal role, but it would be interesting to have your take on that outside the meeting, because maybe I'm missing a trick and I've got something to learn.
Thank you. Now we move on to question 6. Councillor Quayle again.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just go straight into it. How many formal complaints have been raised in the past 12 months regarding SEND provision and inclusion officer conduct? And what proportion have resulted in upheld findings and changes to practice?
Councillor Taylor. Oh, sorry, Councillor Sutton.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Quayle. It's a very short answer, direct to the point, but if I'm missing something that you're trying to get at, I'm very happy to take a supplementary. So the short answer is in the 12 months to the 31st of October, we received 2 formal complaints about officer conduct. Both were investigated and both were upheld.
Do you have a supplementary? No, thank you. Now we move on to question 7, submitted by Councillor Tomes.
Thank you. 2 Astor-owned flats in Century Fields and Swanage have now been put on the open market, adding to a growing list of previous disposals Astor has sold in our town, rather than keeping them for social housing. These repeated losses are steadily and permanently eroding Swanage's already fragile supply of social homes. The impact on local families, many of whom are now being forced out of the community they have lived in for generations, is impossible to ignore and demands urgent proactive intervention. Can the portfolio holder for housing outline what discussions Dorset Council has had with Astor Group regarding both the current Century Field sales and the repeated pattern of past property disposals? Was the council consulted at any stage before these latest homes were put on the market? And is the council actively tracking and responding to the continuing loss of homes in Swanage? Given the acute and worsening housing need in Swanage, what steps will Dorset Council take to ensure these sales do not further erode local housing availability within the town?
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, Cabinet Member for Housing and Health. Thank you very much, Councillor Toms, for your question, and welcome to this chamber. It's lovely to see a new face. Thank you for raising this important issue about the flats at Century Fields in Swanage. I share your concern about the impact of such disposals have on the town's supply of much-needed affordable housing. Astor is the largest registered provider in Dorset, managing over 7,000 homes and delivering new developments across the county. I'm not going to go into the statistics on that, but I can give you them at some time if you'd like them. Their role in meeting the housing need is vital and welcome, but so is ensuring that homes remain available within the communities that need them most. That is why we are challenging the pattern of disposals, noting the particular impact on Swanage and other areas of Dorset. As Councillor O'Leary will have known, he asked a similar question in September at Cabinet, and this is why before that we were pursuing Astor over this, and we will continue to do so. Although we understand that some sales may occur where refurbishment is not viable, the concentration of disposals without equivalent local replacement is very concerning to me as a Cabinet member and to this administration. This issue has been raised by residents and councillors across all parties, and it is a standing item for discussion on the Housing Member Group. Along with the Corporate Director for Housing, I have met several times with Astor's senior leadership, alongside our, making it clear our concerns. I am urging them to review their disposals policy and involve the Council in shaping a more community-focused strategy, and have written to them formally and requested this. Astor do inform the housing team of their intentions on such disposals ahead of doing so, but our concerns remain. I will be meeting them again next week on the 10th of December to move forward with our demands and proposals, and will include your Swanage concerns and also the concerns of Weymouth, which have previously been raised with me. Our frank and robust discussions make Dorset Council's position clear. We know that sales are sometimes necessary, but we expect a more balanced approach that protects community interests, reflects local housing needs. I'm sure that the concerns raised here today, including Century Fields sales, will be part of that conversation. Thank you again for highlighting this issue. I have shared your question with Astor and made them aware that this matter is being raised publicly. I will keep you and other members updated as we continue to press for progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. I do have to apologise first. I forgot to say Councillor Chris Tom, Swanage Ward, new boy. As Swanage continues to lose affordable homes through Astor's recent and historical disposals, it has become increasingly important that we strengthen locally led solutions. The Swanage Community Land Trust has identified both land off Washpond Lane and the former Town Council Operations Building in Kings Road West as key opportunities for delivering generally affordable community-owned homes for local families. I know my fellow councillor Gary Suttle has invited you to Swanage to meet with the Town Council to discuss the loss of Astor homes, but would you be willing to meet with our local community land trust to discuss their work as well?
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you for your additional question. And the quick answer is yes. And I apologise to Councillor Suttle because he's on my list of people to respond to. He wrote to me last week inviting me, and I'll be more than willing to come down to Swanage and either talk to a number of councillors or whoever is required. The community land trusts are incredibly important to us. They're a really, really good way of getting community-led housing out there, and there are sites within Swanage that we'd really want to progress. I don't know. No, I think I'll leave it at that. That's okay. So look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the end of questions. Item 12, urgent items. There are no urgent items. Item 13, no exempt business. So thank you all for attending this meeting. It must be one of the shortest. And I hope you all have a good journey home and a happy Christmas. Thank you.